everybody likes a good story. As children, when we hear our parents say they'd read us a story, our eyes would light up. Now, as adults, we respond so fondly and so quickly to someone who has a good story. Stories provoke, inspire, and connect. And we enjoy stories through many different ways. One of them is through films. You're looking at a clip from a documentary titled The Cordillera Road Trip. And the storyteller behind this is with us this morning. We are joined here on New Day by Aaron Palabyab. Aaron, thanks for joining us here this morning.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
It's a real pleasure. So excited to chat with you. Now, you travel the country and the world to capture stories through your lens. As a filmmaker, as a storyteller, what for you makes a good story?
When I think of what makes a good story, I think right now, two things would come to mind. First of all, before anything, I think it's your unique point of view. These days, we always talk about the importance of authenticity, and I think it's more important than ever, especially when it comes to video storytelling. So I think if you want to tell a good story, you have to be able to give us a very strong point of view, because that's one thing that nobody can imitate. And the second thing I would say is the facing and overcoming of adversity, whether it's trying to get somewhere, whether you have some kind of mission, something you're trying to fulfill. I think people love to see when people face challenges and overcome them.
Right. So what did you want to fulfill in creating these films? Let's go back to your film, The Cordillera Road. We're seeing some clips on screen right now. What inspired you to do this particular docu-vlog?
Oh, thank you. That's a great question. You know, at this time, this was 2019, all of my travels and adventures had been abroad. And my friend and I, photographer, we realized that there's so much of our own country that we hadn't explored. And so this whole series was just about trying to find places and views that we've never seen before, trying to find all of this beauty. And I have to say, we found so much more than we were looking for.
These are stunning images, absolutely beautiful films. Clearly, you appreciate travel here and abroad, all over the world, in fact. And you went to Iceland in one of your films, and this is one of my favorite ones. It is a stunning film. Talk to us about this one, titled The Light in the North. Obviously, you're talking about the Northern Lights, correct?
Yes. So I lived in Iceland for 2 months. I was in an artist residency. So that was really just 2 months of pursuing creative projects, collaborating with artists from around the world. And my main output from my time there was this time-lapse film where I was able to shoot a lot of time-lapse images from in the transition from autumn to winter in Iceland. It's something that I never realized living in the Philippines, living in the tropics my whole life, is that in a place like Iceland, the light changes so much in the space of a month, and it's really just magical and surreal. And of course, the highlight of that was seeing the Northern Lights, which was honestly like seeing, like, I would call it like seeing God play a symphony in the sky. It's really something else, and I'm so glad to have captured some of it here.
That's well put. This is on my bucket list, and also on my bucket list is this other film that I watched. In fact, I watched this a couple of times because I love the vibe of this next film we're talking about. If you believe that dreams come true, you were able to realize a dream with this travel film on board the Trans-Siberian Express. This is such a great little film. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, so it really was totally unexpected. I just happened to be invited by somebody who knew somebody. And so we were brought here by an airline company. It was basically a press trip, and we were able to experience the Trans-Siberian Railway, and not just the Trans-Siberian Railway from Moscow, Russia, to Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia, but it was the first class deluxe experience, like a cruise on rails. So it was such a long journey. It took about 2 weeks, such that when we began, we were in European time in Moscow. But by the time we arrived in Mongolia, we were already back in Philippine time. And just to get back from Mongolia to Moscow was an 8-hour flight, and we traveled all of that by train.
That is fantastic stuff. I mean, even within Russia, I believe so many different time zones, and from one end to the other, the cultural differences are stark, and this has a particular authenticity to it. I think this one feels a little more like you were really just shooting from the hip. You mentioned it was sort of a press trip, but it has a certain authenticity that I like. It really does feel like you're sort of whipping out your camera and shooting things as they happened. And onto that particular skill, now that we've seen some of your work, we also know that you are passionate about teaching filmmaking, especially solo filmmaking. And I think many people now are really sort of clued into what it takes to actually shoot yourself. There are many content creators out there, and most of us travel with something that is able to shoot high definition video. Our telephones, our cell phones, or rather, are quite capable of coming up with some really stunning imagery. But you really do need to hone those skills. You are eager to teach budding storytellers, aren't you?
Yes.
How can we do that?
So first of all, I want to say I'm passionate about teaching because I really believe that so many people don't know what they've got. They've got so much good value to share. And so I teach courses. I'm on a website called Skillshare.com. And I teach two courses there. One is called From Clueless to Content Creator, which is the beginner course. And another course called Filmmaking for Content Creators, which is a more advanced solo filmmaking course also for content creators. And so I really encourage everybody to check it out. It's quite inexpensive to try. And if you don't have an account, you can actually use a link to take both courses completely for free.
Okay, a lot of people are going to say, yeah, but is a phone enough? Do I need special equipment? Is it about the equipment? Is it about how much effort? Is it about going to an exotic location? How can we all come up with content like that you said is authentic and is something that people will want to watch?
That's a great question. So many people think it's about the gear, but you'd be surprised at the number of people creating amazing stories just with what they have, usually their cell phones or action cameras. And as you said, the root, the base of it is really being authentic, having a point of view, and wanting to bring a lot of good into the world with your stories and sharing your knowledge and even your personality.
All right. Well, absolutely excited for this course. You're going to see me on that website. We've got it here. We're flashing it on screen. In fact, aaronpalabyab.com if you are looking to update or really sort of take up your skill level in terms of your content creation. This is something that you might want to look into. We're glad that you could share your passion and learnings with us, Aaron. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. It was really a pleasure.